All right, welcome everyone back to Tim O'Shea Live. We have a very special guest here today. My guest was a Division I long snapper. He was an all NEC selection his senior year at Wagner College. He got his master's degree in sports administration at Boston College, and then in 2023 joined the Ohio State coaching staff as a program assistant. And now he can add the words national champion to his resume. From the Ohio State University coach, Gunnar Daniels. Coach, appreciate it.
Hey Tim, I appreciate you having me on, man. Like you said, Wagner College. That was where me and you met. We go way back to roughing it in the freshman dorm. So I appreciate you having me on. It comes full circle.
Yeah, man, and I gotta say, I did my part, and I grew the stash out for you. I was wondering where yours is.
That was more of a fall camp tradition back when I was young and silly and still a player. So I've cut the mullet. I've just got a little bit of the little scuffle, but nothing too serious right now. But I do appreciate it. It looks good. It looks good. That might be something you want to consider keeping around.
Oh, I have, man. I've been considering it. As long as my girlfriend likes it, we're all good.
There you go. You gotta make her happy. That's fair. That's fair.
But you mentioned we met back at Wagner College. I was a freshman there, and you were a long snapper. I was a tight end. You know, people when you're getting recruited in high school, it's I want to be a quarterback. I want to be a wide receiver. I want to be this and that. Long snapper is kind of a specialty position. How did you get into that? And what was that process like or getting recruited?
Yeah, so just like how I got into it, it's kind of a cool story. So like growing up, my best friend and I, like we were like hip to hip, like inseparable, like all the time. Like it got weird at times. But no, so his dad was actually a long snapper. He snapped at Purdue. He was a 4-year starter at Purdue, and then he played for the Colts. And so my best friend, he was a punter, and his dad was always telling me like he was kind of thinking out for his son. He was like, I need a good long snapper. So my son, it's an easier job for my son. So he taught me, and he was a great teacher. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into long snapping. Going through the recruiting process, it is a little weird. Like a lot of times, like schools aren't like, they're not exactly like hitting up 8th graders, offering them, scholarships and big NIL deals and everything like that for long snappers. But just a lot of it was off of my best friend's tape. Teams would be obviously like in the specialist hierarchy. A lot of times kickers are getting looked at first, then punters, and then long snappers. So a lot of times, he was really highly ranked. I think at one point he was like top 5, top 6 in the country. And so teams had seen his film and then checked out mine, just watching him. So that was how a lot of schools hit me up initially. And then yeah, so I walked on at Ball State University. That was the same school he went to. Again, it was kind of like a package deal, hip to hip all the time. And then, yeah, I transferred after just one season. I was like, I need to. I was in a little over my head. I didn't really understand, college football, and I was like, man, like this could be bad if I don't get my shit straight. Just to keep it real. And so that was where I went to Wagner, and that place changed my life. Like it was a great opportunity for me. And I'm Marysville, Ohio is not exactly the biggest town in the world. So going to Staten Island and saying you live in New York City, like that was really eye-opening and a lot of fun. And Coach Haas and Coach Wilson and Garrett McLaughlin, he was the special teams coordinator that recruited me. Like those guys, like they took a chance on me, and kind of sprouted from there.
Yeah, and you mentioned you walked on at Ball State, which I think a lot of people don't realize. I mean, if you're a high recruit, like a punter, kicker, sure, but like long snappers, in majority of punters and kickers don't get scholarships to the team. They kind of have to earn it when they get there. Is that kind of just an all around college football thing?
Yeah, I would say like more like overwhelming majority of long snappers start as walk-ons. Like especially you look at roster limits and scholarship limits, especially now that they're getting even more restricted. It's not crazy to say you got 5 quarterbacks on scholarship, and so the 5th string quarterback he's on scholarship. But like in the specialist room, like if you're a backup, like more often than not you're a walk-on. So you might be like a 5-star highly rated dude, and you go into a situation where it's like, oh, I'm gonna redshirt and start after that, let's say. like even that red shirt year, like you're probably paying your own way. Like that's just the reality of the situation. You know, so I kind of knew the deal going into it. A lot of people like said like, hey, don't be expecting, you know, schools to be knocking down your door offering you a bunch of money. So you got to go earn it.
And what's your best memory as a long snapper?
Oh man, I would say, I mean, I had a couple of tackles and like there's nothing like that, especially because I mean, hopefully it's hidden on Zoom a little bit. I'm not the biggest dude in the world, so anytime I could run down there and, you know, just be an ankle biter and get the returner on the ground, like there was nothing like that, especially if it was like in the open field and like you watch the tape back the next day, you're like, man, if I would have missed that, like they would have had some you know, flip the field a little bit on us. Like you feel really good about that. So um probably one of those tackles. I had one. So after I transferred to Boston College, we had one against Missouri. It was a big game, and it was the first time we had been SEC schools in like 40 years. So it was that one was pretty cool. So I have to go with that one.
Did you play with Zay Flowers up there at BC?
I did. Yeah, yeah. Say was my guy, man. He was hilarious. Yeah, he was a good dude. What it really impressed me about Zay was like just like his work ethic like never changed. Like no matter, he was getting ACC Player of the Week, and you know he was on Mel Kiper's big board, and you know everybody's saying he was gonna be a first round pick, and like he never wavered. Like he was always staying after practice, catching extra balls, working extra routes. We had our starting quarterback get injured both years I was there at BC, and so like he was always like working with the next guy. Like, hey, like we didn't have all those bang for reps from fall camp, so like we got to get it right now. And so yeah, Zay's the man. I'm glad to see he's having a lot of success in Baltimore, and yeah, I'm really happy for that dude.
Did get on my fantasy team this year, I'll tell you that.
There it is. There it is. I love it. I love it.
So you went to BC from Wagner, graduated, went to BC, and you got your, is it an MS or MA?
Yeah.
MS.
Yeah. And that's in sports administration. Yeah.
So yeah, so I got mine as well. How has that helped you, and that degree helped you? Because I feel like a lot of people, yeah, I did 6 years of college football, but you know, I got a degree out of it, and a lot of people don't recognize that. So talk a little bit about, you know, that education.
Yeah, I would say that sports administration program they have at BC, like that was incredible. Like the amount of connections that they have going through that, like it really opened my eyes to the entire sports industry, which I think that now being as a player, like you're so like immune to that. Like it's kind of whatever. It's like the last thing you think about. It's the last thing that anybody would want you to worry about. But on the coaching side, like you realize like how many people actually like steer the ship and like make the whole thing go. So I think just having like that whole big picture perspective was like really cool. Getting to go down and like talk to people that like worked like in every different asset like of an organization. Like we had people from the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Bruins, the Patriots. Like they were always talking to our program and like just hearing, you know, what they do in their day to day, and how they see like in their world, like it doesn't go without them, and they're 100% right. And so like you don't realize that until you kind of hear some of these stories and like hear how impactful they are. So that was what I really enjoyed the most out of getting my master's there at BC. And then yeah, I met some incredible professors there, like people that have been working at Boston College for like 40, 50 years. Like it was unbelievable. But yeah, I think just having that big picture perspective is something that you don't have as a player. And then so now like in the building, like if I'm just like walking around, like it matters to me, like the janitors, like, you know, just like walking around late at night, like, you know, just at least knowing their name, like saying, hey, how you doing? Like, have a good night. Like little things like that. Like you learn to appreciate those people. And I think that goes a long way. So I really am thankful that I had that experience there at Boston College.
Yeah, and I think when I was in the program too, I got mine at Southern Connecticut State, and I didn't look at sports as a business until I was in that program. And when you look at it as a business from a top-down kind of point of view, like you said, like it takes so many people to run it. It's such a, when you look at it from a macro perspective.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And like I said, like as a player, like it's just like you think it's just the dudes in the locker room and the coaching staff. Like you're like, hey, we don't need anybody else, you know, lock doors, like it's just us. And then you know, you start talking to other people, you're like, wow, like it takes a village. And especially like at a place like Ohio State, like our support staff, like we're lucky. We have tons of resources. So like we have tons of staff. And it's like we aren't able to do the things that we do without all these people.
Yeah.
And with Ohio State is like everybody's expected to be the very best in the world at that job.
Yeah.
And so it's like you really do appreciate every single person in the building. And that's why, like, not to jump too far ahead, but like, you know, winning that championship last week, like that was like you're humbled to just be around these people that like they give so much work, and it's just like it's really cool to like see them pay off, and like everybody's just hugging, like, you know, because it takes everybody, and it was cool to be part of that.
That's why I don't know how they do it. I think it's probably on a per school basis how they do it, but I know in the NFL, you win the Super Bowl, everyone gets a ring. The players, front office, scouting, everyone gets a ring. So, like you said, it takes a village. And, you know, you go from BC, you graduate. Now you're from Ohio. Was there a connection at BC, or was there a connection in Ohio? How did you land this job with Ohio State?
Yeah, so a little bit. So I would say, like, first and foremost, like the Boston College staff, specifically our special teams coordinator that recruited me, Matt Turn, like he's unbelievable. Like one of the best coaches I've ever been around, one of the best humans I've ever been around. Like gave me that opportunity. Like I said, very undersized, under-recruited guy, took a chance on me to play at that level. And then, you know, he had came from Ohio State. Our head coach, Jeff Hafley, he was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State in 2019, and then got the head coaching job at Boston College. So he took a couple guys with him, including Coach Turn. And so he knew the staff at Ohio State, got my foot in the door. That was the biggest piece. And then just to at least put something on my resume, when I was in school, and that's something like I would preach to like anybody, like, you know, that's in sports administration, like going through those master's programs like we did. Like just try to have anything on your resume, like just work for free, because first of all, it's better to have something on, you know, that sheet of paper than instead of nothing. And you're gonna find out really quick if you love it or not, because when you're working for free, like it's pretty unforgiving. But no, I worked for a company. It's called the Hammer Kicking Academy. They do camps. They've expanded now. They do all the way up to like pre-draft, like guys like in the NFL. But when I was there, it was more like high school guys, like trying to get exposure into colleges. So I at least had something on my resume. I did that. And so I'd say like those two guys, Adam Tanowski, he's the CEO and founder of that company. So through Hammer Kicking Academy, and then Boston College relationships with Ohio State, that was kind of what opened the door for me.
So you get to Ohio State and you started as a program assistant?
Yeah.
So that's not it's a different, I'm assuming it's kind of like a grad assistant, but you're not in school.
Yeah. Very, very similar jobs. And just up until, you know, this June when they changed that rule, like quality control analysts, program assistants, we weren't allowed to be like hands-on instruction at practice. So that was obviously when that rule changed in June, like that was awesome, just to, you know, be able to be a little more involved, and you know, at practice, like the background work, like that was already there, you know, setting up meetings and kind of organizing it, doing scouting reports, different things like that. But being more involved in practice this year, that was unbelievable.
You're not stealing signals, right?
No. Well, no comment on that one. I know they're kind of going through that right now, but no sign steals.
You know, one thing I noticed on the roster, which was kind of interesting, is that you guys don't have I know you guys definitely have a special teams coach, but there's no technically like special teams coach on the roster. And I found that interesting. I think it's Coach Keys, right? Kind of runs the special teams, is what I kind of read about. You know, how does that work? Because usually it's OCDC, head coach, special teams. And that's kind of the four guys that kind of run the show. But kind of having, it looks like it's more of kind of like a group effort on the special teams side. And for a national championship program, you know, you don't see that a lot. So how do you guys kind of work around that? And what is your role in that?
Yeah, so we changed that up this season, actually. Coach Day, he said he was talking to Coach Tressel, who he kind of had this idea, and this was kind of how he operated the special teams when he was there. But so there was a guy kind of organizing it. That's kind of where Coach Keys fits in. He calls it on game day, like it's all, you know, he's you know, in charge, kind of the point man for special teams, if you will. But we have a unit coach for the 2 return units and the 2 coverage units. And those guys, like they have to buy in, like they lock into their specific unit. And I think the biggest thing that I noticed from having a true special teams coordinator to doing the unit coaches was the buy-in from the players. Like it just means a little bit more. I'm not going to say anything that's, Coach Day hasn't said to the media. Like Coach Matt Guerrieri, like he was the unit coach for our punt team this year. And so like if you're a safety on the punt team and low fund special teams, like it's not the special teams coordinator that's getting in on the film. Like it's the safeties coach. Like it is your coach that you have, like immediately after that meeting you have to go to the defensive meetings and sit with him again. Like he's already fired up at you. So I thought it was great from the buy-in from the players. From my standpoint, it was great just to be able to communicate and organize the teams like with those guys on offense and defense. Just getting to know them a little bit more. Like sometimes in special teams, like you're kind of like it's kind of like the weird phase, like those guys, a lot of special teams usually like wacky off the wall dudes, but getting to talk and communicate and kind of hear, like you can bounce ideas, like you just see things from more perspectives that way. And I mean, I think that was awesome for us this year. Like we were able to, we really thought outside the box a little bit more, and we were able to make some big plays, and it showed up. And one thing we always love to say is it's all ball, right? And so like it goes a couple different ways. Like there's skills that you're going to use on offense and defense that you're going to use those same skills and techniques on special teams. Like it's no different. And then it's all ball also correlates to like the big picture. Like a football play is a football play. Like the Super Bowl last year went into overtime because of blocked extra point. Like that's every play is a chance to swing a game. And so we really bought into that. I think our players really did. And it ended up working out for us.
And I think that the coaches I feel like the coaches would take more pride in that as well, because this is my unit. I'm the punt return coach. I'm specifically punt return, so don't fuck it up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There was nobody like when our kickoff team, if somebody was taking it out and they actually returned the ball and we went down, we tackled that dude inside the 20, like James Laurinaitis, like he was so fired up, like even more than, when one of the linebackers have a sack, on defense. Like he took a lot of pride in, running down on kickoff on game days. And even if it was a touchback, like he was getting on him all the time. It's like, no, like go run through the back of the end zone, hype the crowd up, like get everybody into it. Like it was, and that was for all 4 units. And even in a field goal block, like I thought it was a big game changer for us. It wasn't a playoff, and you could tell that from the staff down to the players.
Yeah, and I also want to ask you this as well, because Ohio State in bigger schools, the big Power 5 schools, they go until you really get into conference play. When you're playing Michigan, Oregon, you're playing the mid-major schools, Akron, Middle Tennessee, sure. And you're not really having a lot of special teams plays there, right? Because you're running up the score on it. How do you keep those guys focused all year on special teams? So when that big extra point against Oregon, or this big punt against Michigan, when that comes late in the season, how do you turn up the notch on those guys and make them dial in to those plays when they've gone 6 or 8 weeks, playing some low-level competition?
I think like the biggest thing is like just like holding them to that high standard no matter who we're playing, and then as the season goes on, like it's just always like, hey, like every play is that chance to spark, change the game. Be ready to make that game-changing play. Like don't loaf, on that one play thinking like that's going to be your play off, and then that's like you're the one block that would have sprung a touchdown. And it's again, it goes back to like our unit coaches, like speaking in front of the whole team. Like James Laurinaitis, like he was talking to the team. There was a return where he kind of loafed on his block, and he was like the one block that his guy made the tackle. And on the film, it was like if he would have made his block, Ted Ginn Jr. has a touchdown. And he's like, that's one of the worst feelings he had in his entire career. And just like seeing a guy that like he's accomplished so much, and like just being sincere and talking to the team like that, like having that voice in the room, like our players are like, shit, man, like I can't let that happen. Like I can't let that happen. Like no matter, if you're playing, 100 plays on offense and defense, or if you're only a special teams guy, like if you're on the field, like I can make an impact. I can do it. And just having that belief, like no matter who we're playing, no matter the situation, like our guys buy into that. So there was no gimmicks with that.
I always say the best programs are the ones that have discipline and hold players accountable.
No doubt. No doubt. And we're I know for a fact, like those two things as true with Ohio State. Just, our Sunday meetings, like they have goals for every unit. So we grade all the players like we either did or we didn't. And here's why. Like this is the action plan moving forward. Like this is how we get it done the next week. And so definitely those two things definitely hold true for Ohio State.
So you guys won the national championship, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I know you're kind of coming down off the big party over this basically the whole week. But this season wasn't easy for you. You guys had 2 losses, and in any other college football format, you would not have had a chance to win the national championship, whether the BCS or the last college football playoff format. What was the defining moment that was that turning point that you guys said, no, we're going to kick it up a notch and we're just going to kick ass in this playoff? The Michigan loss was heartbreaking. Oregon was probably even, I wouldn't say it's more heartbreaking than Michigan, but that was pretty bad too. What was that defining moment that you guys had a team where you came together, you said, we get this one more chance, we're the 8th seed, we're going to take this all the way?
So yeah, it was just in the wake of that loss to the team up north. We kind of sulked on it for about a week. We did, and like our guys, like they were hurt. Our coaches were hurt. You work really hard, and Ohio State, that's goal number 1 every single year. Beat the team up north, and we've got the countdown clocks like in our building, like it's 365 days a year. We're thinking about that game. But again, it was about a week, and then we all came together. We had we had a lunch together for the selection show, and it was during the show. Like there was just kind of like a buzz in the crowd, like as the teams were kind of getting selected. It was like, all right, we kind of think like this is where we're gonna fall, and this is where it's gonna be. And then when it came down, it's like, all right, we're gonna have a home game the Saturday before Christmas in the Horseshoe against a really talented SEC team, like coming up here, like. There was just a fire under our guys, and I point towards the leaders, like the players on the team, like I think the leadership of all 4 captains, but specifically Jack Sawyer, like that dude, like he's a Central Ohio guy, like highly rated, like the way that he practiced and he attacked every day, like it was just infectious to the entire team. So it was really just finally having that fire again, like all right, we need to right this wrong. And, we kind of need to rewrite history a little bit because, if we don't win the whole thing, the story's just going to be like, hey, you had all this talent and this and that, but you couldn't really get it done. So, the player leadership, going into that Tennessee game, and then the message from Coach Day, straight up from the head man, like that was his message was this story needs to be told. And if we don't win the whole thing, it's either not going to be told or they're only going to focus on the bad things. Right. And so we said it was us versus the world. It's Ohio against the world, right? You've all heard the slogans, and we really did buy into that there during that 4-game stretch, and just put our heads down. It was just really incredible. Like you are at the lowest of lows. Let's call it what it is. Like in a place like Ohio State, like we felt like we were at rock bottom, and all we had was each other, and it was like we're gonna have to fight our way out of this. And it took all 4 games to do it, but we did, and now it was a happy ending to a really good story.
I want to talk about one of your guys, Jaden Fielding, kicker for Ohio State. It seems like you guys have a good relationship. And against Michigan, he missed 2 kicks that, was a turning point in the game. Comes back, has a really good playoff, hits his longest kick of the season in the national championship. What were you telling him to get his mind right? Because a kicker's mind is super precious. You need to make sure that their mental is okay, especially in the college football playoff, right? So what were you telling him to kind of, like you said, right that wrong and kind of have a good turnaround for the playoff?
Yeah, first of all, like I give our specialist unit, a lot of credit for how they backed Jaden, and they kind of went to bat for him. After that game, it was just like, hey, like, that can't happen, right? The same as, if a receiver, drops a touchdown pass that would have won a game, or quarterback throws a pick, whatever it may be, like that was it was a bad day to have a bad day. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but we still trusted in that guy. And we believe that he was going to go out and he was going to execute in his next opportunity. And that was kind of my message to him, was like, just don't forget who you are. Like, like one bad day, one bad game, like that's not going to define you as a kicker, as a person. And what is going to define you is how you respond to it, right? Like that could be the end of your story. You go out and you let things get into your head and like things keep going downhill, like that could be the end of it. Or you could just be you and go out and, blast kickoffs through the back of the end zone and hit big time field goals in critical moments for us, the way that that you can and you've been trained to do it. And you really have no other option other than that. So it was a microcosm of our team. Like his back was against the wall. He had his story was going to be written either way. And so he was able to hold the pen last. And like I said, like he had a great playoff for us, and a couple big kicks there in the Rose Bowl and in the national championship game. And you look at the returners that we faced there in that 4-game stretch, both on kickoff and punt return. We faced some incredible returners. He neutralized them on kickoff, and Joe McGuire did a great job neutralizing them on punt. Like that was 2 gutsy performances down the stretch. And those 2 dudes, they had a great season, especially a great playoff contributing to those wins. So, with Jaden, like it was just, hey man, you got the pen last. You're gonna have another opportunity. Let's go write this.
I think trusting in your specialists is key in those situations.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And if you don't, like they see right through it, right? Like I was there, like in some of those situations where it's like the whole team's like, I don't know, man. Like maybe we just go for this one. But no, like the team backed him. And again, like it goes back to like our player leaders, our captains, like nobody ever wavered. And was just like, no, like Jaden, like you're good, dude. You're good, dude. Like we got your back. And it's it showed up for us in a big way.
That game against Oregon, you guys lost to them earlier in the season, like I said, by 1 point. Tough loss. This is their first year in the Big Ten. You play them in the playoff. That game wasn't even close. I was watching that game. It was over by the end of the first quarter. What was the turnaround there, and what was the message that Coach Day gave to the team that just turned something on in your guys' head where you just routed them?
Yeah, it wasn't even, I mean, he still had a very consistent message. That's one thing that I think works really well for our guys, is just like, don't change the message or the narrative based on who you're playing. Like it was very consistent, and like it was almost the exact same as when we were about to play Tennessee. It's just like, hey, like we still got to write this story, guys. Like it doesn't matter that we had the win against Tennessee. Like we dropped this one. Like they're still going to talk bad about us. They're still going to talk about the rivalry game. Like we got to write this story. And I think it actually benefited us that we lost that game the way that we did. I just think that like the belief on our team was like, we lost by 1 point, ended the game, had a chance to win at their place, great environment out there. And our guys, just because they were in that before against the same team, the same matchups, it was like, we know we can do it. Like that belief was there. It's just like, we just need to go out and execute it. And one thing that we love to say around here, a phrase is leave no doubt. And that was kind of the message was, hey, in the first game, we left doubt. In fact, we left it up to chance, and we needed one more second. And in this game, we got to leave no doubt. And our guys, like you said, like right from the get go, is like, all right, we got to leave no doubt in this one. Kind of step on the gas pedal, and they did just that, man. That was incredible.
I thought when I watched that game, I said that you guys were going to win the national championship. I think, the way the format was, you get the Boise State as a 4 seed, which I'm not much of a fan of in that situation, but I watched that game, man, and I think a lot of people in the country had the same idea. Said, no one's beating this team. No one is beating this team. You guys clicked at the perfect moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no doubt with that. Like, again, we knew that we had all the pieces. It was just a matter of putting it all together and playing 4 quarters the way that we know we can. And right there, that 4-game run, like even in those 4 games, like we can get nitpicky and like there are some possessions, here and there where, we didn't execute. And but by and large, the overwhelming majority of the 60 minutes in all those games, like we were playing our best ball. And that's again goes back to the players. Like they executed when the moments were the biggest, and they deserve all the credit.
You talk a little bit about Jeremiah Smith, man. That kid is unbelievable.
Dude, like that is, I mean, I can't put it like into like big picture like sports perspective, but like for a kid that young to be that dynamic in the way that like everybody on the team knew what we had from the moment he stepped in. Like, and he's not, I wouldn't call him a quiet guy, but like he's not like a big flashy me guy. He's definitely more on the quiet side. Like he shows up, he goes to work, he attacks it, he speaks with his actions. And from the moment like his first spring ball practice, it was like, oh my God, like what do we have here? Like this dude is unbelievable. And but yeah, just great work ethic. Like in some of his conversations with Coach Hartline, like he's so new and raw. Like sometimes he doesn't know what he's working. It's so like Coach Hartline's just like, no, like that was awesome. Like keep doing that 100%. I'm not gonna outcoach that. Here's why that worked. And so seeing those conversations is really funny. But no, Jeremiah, he's unbelievable talent. Hard worker. Like he fits in well. Like if you're at Ohio State and you're not a hard worker, you do stick out like a sore thumb. And so he keeps working his craft. I mean, the fact that we got 2 more years of that guy is pretty nuts, man. He's special.
Yeah, sky's the limit for him for sure. He unbelievable talent you guys got there. So you guys go to the national championship. Close game on paper. You guys pretty much took care of Notre Dame, in my opinion. Give us a story about the national championship, whether it was the celebration, whether it was the travel. Give us something, an inside scoop, if you will.
Oh man, I would just say like at the game. So one like funny story, I guess, is so Jaden, he goes out. I think there's about like 50 seconds left. Like the game's over. Just about all we got to do is make that field goal. We're up 8. We kick this field goal, 2-possession game. We're feeling pretty good, right? And so Jaden, he goes out, he makes the kick, and he gets mobbed. Like everybody's going crazy for him. Like our players, like we're on the field, like jumping on him and everything. And Jaden, he starts running off the field. Like he like goes over to the kicking net. And like the ball's ready for play. Like the referees are about to like blow the whistle, like, hey, like we need to kick off here. And I'm just like screaming for him, like, you have to kick off. Like, you have to kick off. Like we like the game's not over yet. And he couldn't find the kicking tee. Like he was freaking out because he usually goes over the sidelines, like the same guys in the same spot every time to hand him his kickoff tee. And that guy was part of the celebration. And so he's like scrambling, like trying to find the kickoff tee. I was like, oh my God, like we're gonna delay a game on kickoff, like in the national championship game, like this embarrassing moment. But so luckily he got it. We got out there, he hit a touchback, and we played some prevent defense and won the game, put it on ice there. But yeah, nothing too crazy. When we travel, it's a lot of business as usual. Atlanta was a great host city. Our hotel was very close to the stadium. It was phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, then the aftermath was crazy. I mean, it was well deserved for a lot. Like I said, a lot of people in that building, and I don't know how much sleep most of our guys got that night, but they deserve to enjoy it. They do. They earned it, and I was happy to be able to share that with them.
That's a fitting end to the season for Jaden, having those struggles early on and then kicking the go-ahead field goal to seal it. That's good for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was really cool. Somebody sent me a picture of us, right after the last tackle was made. There, like we're bro hugging hard there, right on the sideline. Just like I can't believe we were finally able to accomplish it, and like just that like you could finally exhale. It was like the entire time it was like we're always next play. There is no next play. Like we actually did it, and just like that deep breath, like we accomplished this mission that we've been working all year for. And it was it was awesome. We definitely it was definitely pretty emotional, but we got a good bro hug on film there.
I saw. Is that the picture on Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the one. Yeah.
that's a
That was
great.
right after the last play. Yeah. Confetti's going. Like it's awesome.
Well, now the confetti has fallen, the party is slowed down in Columbus, and now you're moving on to the off season. Now you're recruiting. I kind of want to talk to you more about, the college football landscape in general. It's so different from when me and you were players, and I'm a little younger than you, so I think I was kind of on the cusp of it. But I mean, the transfer portal, NIL, from two guys that transferred to three schools, I kind of want to get your take on how the NIL has just completely changed the landscape of recruiting. And as a coach, if you could speak on it, how does that affect your recruiting, and especially for a program like Ohio State that is one of those upper echelon programs? How do you leverage that, especially with everything going on, the portal, deals, boosters, all this stuff going on? What is the foundation of recruiting nowadays in college football?
I think that, a lot of people, I think, try to use that like to create their own narrative that like, oh, so and so school has X amount of dollars and this and that. And I still think it comes down to relationships at the end of the day. Like uh, I don't know. Maybe I'm too naive, but I still think that that relationship with a player and his family, a 17-year-old kid like choosing where he's going to go to college and get a degree from, like that still matters. Again, maybe I'm too naive there. I do see the value in it, is and going to a place like Ohio State where we have those resources, and I think that the best thing that we do is we educate the players on what to do with those resources. So we have a program here in the off season. It's called Real Life Wednesdays. And so it kind of started, Coach Meyer, he did it in the off season where they would come in. It was successful businessmen, a lot of them former Buckeyes, just really wealthy individuals. And they would come in, kind of share their story. How did they get to this point in their careers? And our players would get up and, they'd exchange business cards. And a lot of times it led to internships, job opportunities for guys. And we've continued it and we keep expanding upon it. Like it's unbelievable, what we do. What we do off the field with our guys, I'd say like it's just as good as what our players do on the field. Like it's really incredible. I would encourage anybody to kind of look up like Ohio State Real Life Wednesdays. Like it's incredible program. But now in this NIL era, we've transitioned a little bit. So the majority of them are still those, still getting those networking opportunities for our guys. Trying to like, yes, when tax season comes around, I'm like, God, I hope I did that right. Like
Me too.
us, like, hey, you're not, you are not somebody that is going to come in and like, it's not just taken out of your paycheck like a public employee, right? Like you this is a, off the books type of thing. Like, you got to make sure we do things legally, like doing it the right way with your taxes. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest recruiting tool we got going is the Real Life Wednesdays and, helping our players to be successful that next 40 years of their life, even if, say they come here for 3 years and they're a first round draft pick and, they're going to the NFL, and that's fine. At Ohio State, like we can make you the best version of yourself. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. We're going to teach you how to handle your money, make sure you get a good agent, everything to, cross your T's, dot your I's from the football front. But maybe you're that, maybe, we're going to have 105 on the roster next year. Like maybe you're that 105th guy and hey, I'm probably not getting first round draft pick, like change your life money right now playing football. We can still make you the best version of yourselves to set you up for those next 4 years. And so, I think that, again, Real Life Wednesdays is unbelievable.
Man, you got 106 spot, dude. You're firing me up. Kind of want to join the team.
Let's sign you up, man. You got any eligibility left?
I got 1 year. I got a medical.
Let's go do it. I'll get with Coach Bailey. We can get another tight end in the room. Let's suit you up. Let's get you in the Scarlet and Gray, man.
I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna go long snap, right? I don't know if I could take those hits anymore, man.
Hey, I know a guy that can get you right.
Well, dude, I also want to talk about the transfer portal a little bit too, because like I said, we transferred, and honestly, I think it benefited me. Um, I transferred from Wagner to UConn to Southern Connecticut, and I learned a lot along the way, but I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. But now you kind of see like the mid-major kind of like group four schools are kind of, becoming almost like a filter system for the power fives. And this year alone, I mean, you guys had some of your best players were transfers. Will Howard, Judkins, Downs, like these guys were transfers, and you guys have seemed to really utilize that portal really well. Can you tell us about the importance of especially like timing and just timing of recruiting in the portal and what that has done for your team and how you guys have adjusted to it?
Yeah, and I would just say, like, first of all, like, you look at, our depth chart for the national championship game. I think it was 18, it might have been 19 starters were Ohio State recruits out of high school. So there's definitely some absolute like game changer Cadillac players that we got from the transfer portal that we needed to fill holes on this roster. But by and large, it's still guys that committed to Coach Day and came to Ohio State out of high school. So I think that it's kind of a need-based thing. You come through and maybe there's a mass exodus out of position. You had a senior veteran group, and the backups, they didn't want to stick around for it, so they entered the portal. And then that senior's gone now, and you've got some holes to fill. That's kind of where I think the portal fits in predominantly. I just I know I utilized it. It was great for me. Like I said, going to Boston College, like Coach Turin, like he's a big reason why I'm at Ohio State and living my dream right now.
Mhm.
But I don't think that it's sustainable to kind of like build a roster with the transfer portal. I think that you kind of evaluate, like I said, it's very need based, and if there is like a dynamic player that out there that's he's out there in the market, and like I think that like the running back situation we had here at Ohio State, like that was a microcosm of our team. Like Travion Henderson, like, yeah, I'm not saying anything he hasn't said. Like, he was one of the first players to like talk about when Quinshon Judkins entered the portal. He's like, can you imagine that room? Like me and that guy, like that's a national championship running back room. And so, yeah, like I said, not a end all, situation. I don't think it's a great idea to like build an entire roster out of it. But in certain situations, like it can be beneficial for both the player and the program. And at the end of the day, that's all you want.
I kind of talked about this a little bit before, but in any other season, you guys wouldn't have had a shot at the national championship. This year, NCAA changed the rules, the format of the playoff, expanded it. You guys were the 8th seed. Notre Dame, who made the national championship, was the 7th seed. They would not have made the national championship either in any other format, BCS or the other 14 college football playoff. I mean, I'm assuming you're a fan of it. I'm assuming. But do you think that the NCAA might even expand it even more? And if they were to do that, to include maybe even all top 25 teams, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm too narrow focused to kind of think of, like the big picture like that. I do think that the product was awesome. Like that was one thing that you love about college football was, those big time bowl games or those early season, like, those top programs playing each other. And then for like a month, like every couple of days, we had a whole batch of them. Like was it was tremendous for the sport, right? Um, I can't answer that, completely. Just, I save that for the people higher up that kind of do all the organizing. I show up and coach when where and when they tell me. But I do think the expanded playoff, like, it was great for the game. There were some unbelievable matchups that we weren't going to see otherwise. I think it was very cool. Obviously, I'm biased saying this, but it was cool to have some rematches like you see in the NFL where teams they played in the regular season, then they get another shot in the playoffs, like we did with Oregon. So it was I'm a fan. I'm a believer now. But yeah, in terms of like future expansion, I haven't even Haven't even dipped my toe in that water yet. Still getting used to the 12.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of the expansion, honestly. I thought it was great. Like you said, you see those rematches, like you and Oregon, and then even like I said, you guys would not have had a shot. But the whole point of the expansion was to give a team like Ohio State a shot at the national championship, showing that you're the best team. And then along the way, what do you tap? You tap SEC schools, you tap Big Ten schools, potentially, some other conferences, ACC maybe. But I think it's great for the game. I think it really put a spark into the college football viewership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a football junkie at heart. And so
Same here.
we had the opportunities. We're in the hotels, like, before the game, like if we're playing a night game, like you better believe I got the iPad up and like I am watching, whatever big noon game is going on. Like, and so to see some of these matchups down the stretch there, like it was awesome. Like, and I love those moments, outside of practice, outside of the game day, like on Friday nights at the hotel, like being around the guys. Like it just, I don't know why it sticks out to me, but like we watched like the first part of that Indiana Notre Dame game, and we ended up playing Notre Dame. It was just weird how that all worked out, but that Friday night, like with the team, like just being there watching this great matchup, like two teams that never play each other, even though they're in the same state. Like it took this playoff to put two great teams that had really good seasons to play against each other. Like it was, I loved it. I loved it. I'm on board.
You're a football guy at heart. You looking forward to the Super Bowl next Sunday?
I am. I am. Yeah. It's the run that the Chiefs are on, like it's unbelievable. It's those guys, they never go away. Like people always joke like, oh, they're on every week. They're on every week. It's like, well, they're doing their job. Like they're finding ways to grit through, some of these tough, sleepy games throughout the regular season. Then when it comes to playoff time, they put a consistent game plan together. They figure out how to get it done every weekend, and yeah, they're still here. They're still here, man. So good specialist matchups too.
I was about to ask. Can we get a little like evaluation from a specialist perspective here from Coach Daniels?
Man, I would James Winchester, long snapper for the Chiefs. I think he's one of the best in the business, man. I mean, from a snap, protect, and coverage standpoint, like they don't build them like that anymore. So a guy, he came out of Oklahoma. He actually played receiver for the Oklahoma Sooners, right? So he's putting a little athleticism to it. But I'm a fanboy of that. But no, both teams have really, really talented specialists, and that's a lot of times, like again, it gets overlooked. But these are guys that all six specialists that are gonna be in that game. Like they're some of the best at their craft too, and they're part of these teams that have made it that way. And that's, I'm excited for it.
Would you say that a holder is a specialist?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. I mean, 9 times out of 10, like it is usually a punter or another kicker that is the holder. Quarterbacks are still out there. They still dabble a little bit. But yeah, like if you are a true holder, like that's special, man.
Well, now I think I could find my spot on Ohio State because I was a holder all 4 years in college, all 4 years in high school, never had one bad snap.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Proof is in the pudding. Let's get you suited up, man. I'm telling you, we had a first-year holder this year. He was an Australian dude. I mean, those guys, they come over from Australia. They're great at punting. We're like, hey, you got to hold, and they're like, man, I don't know what this is. Like, what are you talking about, right? And so we had some rough moments in spring ball with Joe McGuire, but we got him right, and he had a really good year for us. Our field goal operation, shout out John Furlman snapping it for us, and then Joe McGuire putting it down for Jaden. Like they operate at a really high level all year.
That's my favorite term in all of football is the operation. I don't know if you call it this. It's called the battery.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah.
The bat. That's my favorite term.
It's like baseball, the pitcher and the catcher. It's the battery. You got the snapper, the holder. That's the battery, baby.
Best battery in the game.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I'm on board.
I just wanted one more question, man. You were a specialist yourself. Now you're coaching specialist, and with a name like Gunner, I don't think you can coach anything else. But I want to know, describe the persona of specialists. Because if you're not in the locker room, I don't know if you understand. Like the specialists are their own kind of that they're in their own world. And I want to kind of take us into that world, if you will, and the persona of specialists.
Well, I do think it comes down to each individual guy a little bit. It's just it's so unique, and that's one of the great parts of football, right? Like you can take this, 6'7", 350-pound offensive lineman, and he is just as valuable on game day as the 5'6", 150-pound kicker, right? Like there's these niche skills that they take very, very serious, and they hone them just like, every other position does with their craft. But just the fact that, there's not as much contact, right? Like, you don't have to tackle and hit everybody every single day. Like it's not quite as intense. And I've actually found that, a lot of times it's better if you're not very intense with those guys and everything's just kind of even heart rate the entire way through. So yeah, those guys, they just, because of that, a lot of times, they might be in the locker room, having conversations about, what's for lunch and, what are we going to do this weekend? And, oh, you caught this Netflix show and different things like that. But, no, it does kind of take its own persona. I tried to be a football guy, I love the game and, just being a part of it. But, yeah, it can get interesting there, some of these conversations. Like sometimes I walk in, I'm like, are we really like, it's the Friday before, a playoff game or something. And, we're talking about like some dude needs a car wash. Like, look, these are the conversations we're having. But no, it's unique. It's unique. And you got to be a part of it to truly believe it. Some people, they don't believe all these stories.
Gunnar, I'm gonna say this too. You were one of the most energized guys I've ever played with. Let me tell you, for the viewers that are watching, this guy in the weight room on like a Friday morning or a Wednesday morning at like 5 a.m., screaming his ass off, like absolute psychopath, getting after it every day. I'm glad to see you're a coach now because you were destined to be it. But dude, always brought the energy. Like I said, absolute psychopath. Love you. Absolutely. You were nuts.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That's what I did it for. That's what I did it for. I knew I wasn't gonna make a name for myself, catching, one-handed touchdown passes the back of the end zone. So, I had to get the boys juiced up, play my part. And, sometimes you just need that little extra spark. And if I could provide that, I was going to do it. So I'm glad I could get that done.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for stopping by on the podcast. This was a great conversation. We'd love to have you back after next year's national championship too. And I appreciate you stopping by, my man.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's good to catch up with you. Things are going well. Like I said, those Harbor View Hall days have long come and gone, but it's good to see some of us made it out.
Not all did. Not all did.
Not all did. RIP.
Have a good one, brother. Thank you.
Yep. See you, Tim.